In this episode, you will hear about one of India's leading social reformers who could not read or write a word but was a mentor to India's then Law Minister and the chief architect of our Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Who was this simple man who was also the inspiration behind Prime Minister Modi's Swachh Bharat Abhiyan? But very few people know about him and his epic nation-building work. We can apply some of his teachings right this moment to elevate our lives. Welcome to 30 minutes of something sacred.
देव देवघर मध्ये नाही जगात देव आहे जगात स सेवा करा गोपाला गोपाला देवकी नंदन गोपाला. God is not in the temples. God is in every human being. Worship and service the human. Gopala Gopala Devaki Nandana Gopala. Welcome to Sacred. I'm joined here with my dear friend Hindol Sen Gupta, and today we'll be discussing the great institution, not just a human being but an institution, Sant Gadge Maharaj. Hindol, welcome.
So many things to learn, so many people to look up to, so much to understand about our ancient civilization and all these amazing people who have done amazing things, Neha. Gadge Maharaj is absolutely incredible because I actually first heard of Gadge Maharaj when the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was launched in India a few years ago by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And there were people saying that in Maharashtra, that one of the great icons who could be talked about in the light of keeping the country clean and cleanliness as a way to godliness, as Gandhiji had also said, was really Sant Gagde Maharaj, the incredible saint who carried, in a sense, a dust bowl on his head.
That's right. And that's why his name actually became Gadge, because it comes from the word pot in Marathi. And so it was a broken pot that he carried on his head, in which he ate and he drank water. His actual name was Debuji Jingraji Zanurkar. And he was born on 23rd Feb 1876 in the Amravati district in Shengaon village in northeastern Maharashtra. And he was born to a dhobi caste, which was a lower caste in the Indian caste system. The problem in those times was that there was a lot of sort of blind faith, rituals, animal sacrifices, a fear, God-fearing community. Also, because of so much poverty and a lack of respect, a lot of alcoholism and other addictive behaviors were very rampant in that community. And at a young age of 8, he lost his father to liquor. And he showed signs of piety from previous births. So he spent a lot of time doing bhajans with his friends, chanting abhangs and ovais of Chokaram, Sant Namdev, Tukaram, Kabir, and was very inspired by their sayings, not only of finding God everywhere, not only in a particular stone or in a temple, but also of finding God in human beings and servicing human beings. So Hindoli were mentioning cleanliness is next to godliness. Cleanliness, he equated cleanliness and other works of service to society as the worship of God. Even in his favorite Vithoba of Pandharpur, a lot of Maharashtrians follow that Varkari tradition, which even he was influenced by, and so was his family. But there also he saw the face of Maharogis, people with severe diseases. And he wanted to worship Vithoba through these people. So he showed signs of great piety since childhood. And after his father's death, his mother took him to another village close by where he was raised by his uncle. But he was raised on the farm, so to speak. And never really got time to study. So Hindol, we learn that he is absolutely illiterate, so to speak, in the formal educational way. So till the end of his life, he could only put his thumbprint to sign his name.
The great amazing thing about this wonderful saint is that, of course, because of the time he was born, he really saw India's transition from a colonial country to a independent country, and he died in 1956. So he really saw that transition. He saw independent India come into being. And this thing that everywhere he went, every village he entered, the first thing he would do is take his bowl and take a broom and clean the gutters, clean the streets, clean everything around that he saw that needed cleaning, and encouraged people, and people would donate little bits of money to him, and with that money he would gather and promote cleanliness even better. He would build institutions, he would build educational institutions and dharamshalas and hospitals and basic care facilities, whatever was possible. And in a sense, I think of him as this nation building saint, right? I mean, here is this incredible spiritual figure who was so close to Babasaheb Ambedkar, the man who wrote India's constitution, this great caste warrior, anti-caste discrimination, profound intellectual, Babasaheb Ambedkar. And in a sense, Babasaheb Ambedkar learned so much from this saint about, in a sense, uplifting people, bringing equity and equality within society, and through this process, cleanliness within and outside. Cleanliness is not just in the world, but also cleanliness within. And this lesson is really, really vital and important. And I think his association with Babasaheb Ambedkar is really barely ever spoken about, but really ought to be focused on as a transformative moment also in Babasaheb's life.
That's right. In fact, Hindul, I don't think a lot of us know that the People's Education Society, which was the first institution Babasaheb Ambedkar built to educate, organize, agitate for a more just and equal society, the building was actually donated by Gadge Maharaj. So his first building of the PES society, which today is 25 academic institutions doing a lot of work for promoting the oppressed classes in India. And so Gadge Maharaj had given him the first building in Pandharpur. And it's amazing. I mean, like you said, not a lot of people know about these stories, but I was listening to a few lectures in Marathi from authors who have written on Gadge Maharaj, and they were saying, like there would be times when Babasaheb Ambedkar would be sitting in the audience on the floor. I mean, he is, like you said, the maker of our constitution, and he is sitting on the floor, and someone offered him a handkerchief to say, why don't you sit on this at least? And he said, no, Gadge Maharaj would have swept the floor beforehand. I know it's very clean. He would be giving his lectures, and if he saw that Gadge Maharaj was coming, the lecture would be stopped and he would come and invite him on stage. Of course, Gadge Maharaj would not go on stage he was a very, very humble man and said, no, I don't know anything. What are you calling me for? But he was very close to him, would visit him often, listen to his lectures. Someone said that he equated him to Kabir, Sant Kabir and Buddha. Ambedkar revered them very much, and so he saw Gadge Maharaj in that light as well. Once I think Gadge Maharaj was in the hospital in Bombay, and being a minister as well, Ambedkar went to visit him, took I think a shawl, or some people say it was a cloth for him. Gadge Maharaj never accepted anything from anyone, but because he saw the bhav, the respect with which Ambedkar had come to him, he accepted that gift. But he told him, why are you here? Your every minute is precious for the upliftment of our masses. Please go. Don't have to come to see me. I understand that you care for me. And when Ambedkar died in, I think it was 1956, in December, he was heartbroken, Gadge Maharaj. They say that he didn't take his medicine on time. And it's interesting that though Gadge Maharaj is 20 years older to him, Ambedkar died earlier, But Gadge Maharaj soon followed, just within a span of 14 days. And so their relationship was reminds us of this quote from Kabira, which Gadge Maharaj also used and Ambedkar also used, which says, Kabira khada bazaar mein liye लुखाटी हाथ जो घर फूका अपना चले हमारे साथ. What it means is whoever stands with the people with patriotism in his heart should forget his self-interests and follow me.
What an incredible journey. Gadge Maharaj's 10 commandments, which are I think, very worth repeating again and again to many people. Provide food to the hungry, provide water to the thirsty, provide clothes to the naked, give education to children who cannot afford it, provide shelter to the homeless, medicine to the blind, the physically challenged and people with illness, give employment to those who don't have a job, who don't have something to do, protect animals, give them shelter, give them love and care, help the marriage of young boys and girls who are too impoverished to afford it themselves, and of course give courage overall to everyone who is in distress. Now these are of course incredible. I mean, we talk about lessons that many saints have left us in India, and I think these are great, beautiful, succinct lessons. And I see Gadge Maharaj in a sense some of his lessons in the tradition of Swami Vivekananda, right? Vivekananda's great innovation was that it is not only by worshipping and be going to a temple and meditating that you would be able to find God. I mean, his entire thing was you would also have to provide service, and you would have to see Narayan in everyone, right? I mean, that was his great innovation, and in that legacy, I see someone like Gadge Maharaj as incredible in taking forward that legacy of great selfless service. Now, one of the things I do want to mention is that we have such a diversity of spiritual seva and service and journeys in our country that sometimes some of this is misunderstood. Now, someone like Gadge Maharaj also responded to his context. Remember, even saints have a context. So he responded to his context and, in a sense, preventing animal sacrifice. But of course, in the Shakta tradition, of course, as we know, animal sacrifice has been really critical in the great Shakti Peeths and the great Shakti traditions. And none of this is in conflict with one another. It is different people from different parts of the country responding to what they saw around them and their context. So it's important to understand that even the holiest of holy figures and even saints have a context.
And that is such a critical point, Hindol, because someone who's not well aware of the bhakti tradition of devotion to God might think that Gadge Maharaj did not believe in God or was an atheist or is ridiculing people who genuinely think that, going to a tirtha or a pilgrimage is helpful, or doing the ritual every day is helpful. But like you said, we have to see it in the context of the times. What community did he belong to? What was happening at that time with just mindlessly following rituals, not knowing, what the significance is, or not recognizing that society needs upliftment as well, and God is not necessarily only in that one temple or only in that stone figure, but God is everywhere, all around us. And so, he actually quotes Jnaneshwari, Hindol. We discussed Jnaneshwari in the Muktabai episode, where he actually talks about God being like the wind. It's everywhere. Do we ever say that, the wind is this color, that color, or the wind only stopped at the door, or the wind was at that place in time only? No, the wind is at the door, is in the temple, is in the tree, is in the waters, is everywhere. So look at God from that lens. It's in people as well, people who are suffering, as you said, the 10 commandments. People who are suffering, people who are needy, people who need help. The dhan or the wealth of a man is not necessarily in how big a temple he built, or his tijori, or his gold, or his house, but it's in the popularity he has. And by popularity, again, he doesn't mean in the influencer kind of way, but in what he leaves behind for people as far as help is concerned. So he said, call Mahatma Gandhi your God. Call him, do Jai Jai Mahatma Gandhi. Look at the amount of work he's done. Did God come to fight the British? He says, no, Gandhi fought him. And of course, so many others that he names, to look up to. Again, because of the context, trying to tell us that God built everything. He says there is Parameshwar. He has built everything, the rivers, the flowers that you're putting. He doesn't need all that. So he acknowledges God, says it's everywhere, but says that this broom in my hand probably has more use than the flowers you're putting on God, because it's his. He has everything, So a very good point you brought up, Hindul, about context.
Also, it's important to see that many of these saints, of course, are in a sense, the Advaita Vedanta tradition. This idea that God is everywhere. God is in the wind. All of these are sort of the Nirgun, the Nirgun Brahman, so to speak, or the divine without form. And it's important to mention, of course, that there is a whole tradition of the divine with form. We have mentioned it earlier in the great Pandharpur tradition. It has been mentioned today also in Lord Vitthal. And that is the God with Sagun, God with form, or the divine with form, with attributes. And one of the things which I find very interesting is that, and this is how saints and spiritual leaders in our country interacted with one another. Gadge Maharaj actually met Meher Baba, and we will discuss Meher Baba in a subsequent episode of our conversation. But, and Meher Baba actually invited Gadge Maharaj to Pandharpur, and they, are supposed to have addressed a gathering together. And look at how today we look at all these things as, in a sense, we have been taught falsely, I feel, that many of these things are, in a sense, opposed to one another or diametrically in sort of conflict with one another. But actually, all of this is in conversation with one another in our country. All these traditions, all these ways of looking at the divine, all these ways of contemplating deeper levels of consciousness, deeper, higher states of being, so to speak, are in constant conversation with one another. The saints are not in conflict with one another. They are in conversation, and they holistically, all of them holistically, in a sense, are the great, rich, incredible spiritual tradition of Bharat, of India. And I think we should look at it that way. Look at Gadge Maharaj's great lesson of cleanliness. I wish we could take that lesson today and apply it everywhere around the country and do a much better job. And that's why, when this, as I was saying, when the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan started under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, many people remembered Gadge Maharaj and his lessons on how everything should be spotlessly clean. I wish we took that lesson and really took it forward to new levels.
That's right, Hindul. And when you said it's all in conversation with each other, let's look at the 4 yogas, right? The bhakti path, the karma, the jnana, the Raj Yoga path. All of them, I feel, have one sort of underlying, very relevant message for all of us is the surrender of this ego-centric sense of self, and recognizing that there is something larger, higher. You either do it through service, devotion, through practice of rituals and, yoga, etc. And there's so many ways. As your temperament, so is the way. And so one of his favorite things that he said, which has really stuck with me, has been, Jensa Abhiman Gela Tenna Dev Bhetla. Whoever's pride has gone, God has met them. And Hindoli takes it to such an extreme level where if he created dharamshalas, he created ashramas, schools, hospitals, never kept anything for himself, never kept any money, never even slept inside the dharamshala. He would sleep outside. I feel like it's almost like he was trying to say something about, the people, the background that he came from. That yes, I have access to this, but absolutely no nepotism. So none of his children who he had left behind with the wife and the mother, none of the children were given any sort of posts in these positions, these institutions. He never took anything. If anything he saw wrongdoing, that would be like the end of that person in their position, so to speak. So he was so humble. No one could touch his feet. He did not allow that. In fact, he even touched, he was 20 years older than Punjab Rao Deshmukh, who was a revolutionary thinker in the whole Kisan movement. he did full kind of Sashtang Namaskar at his feet, being older to him by 20 years. So that was Gadge Maharaj's level of humility. He could have cashed in on any of the rumors that were spread about him because he was a sant, right? So people were saying all sorts of things, like if he touches you, you'll get this position, you'll get cured, this, that. He didn't capitalize on anything. In fact, he would dismiss it as superstition. So he had this extreme scientific drishtikon, as we say, this foresight to always say, let's come back to like more practical things, and that's what matters.
And of course, once he gave up his bodily self, Gadge Maharaj has been revered not only in Maharashtra for the incredible work he's done, but across the country. A few years ago, the government of India also released a stamp in his honor, which is a beautiful stamp, and it, in a sense, shows the respect that we all have for this incredible saint who really led a life of extreme simplicity and austerity, and yet built an entire range of institutions and provided, moral support and direction to society when it most needed it. Also, I really feel that this is the great thing about India. Every generation has produced almost new saints, new people who have found the path through devotion and spirituality. And I think India produces this generation after generation of saints to show the path, which is perhaps the most important legacy, the most important treasure in India.
One of the most fascinating things about him, Hindol, is that being absolutely illiterate in the formal education way, right? His words were heard and listened to. His lakhs of people would come to listen to his kirtans that he would hold. They're very unusual, very powerful. If anyone's a Maharashtrian who's listening who can understand Marathi, I really urge you to listen to them. There's this very unique sort of lilt in his kirtanas, and how he almost like mesmerizes you and you want to take action right that very second, do something. He used to say that this body is for use, use it. Like, don't not do hard work, don't take free things, put in that effort. Even if you have to sell, your utensils, educate your children. You can eat roti in your hand. And in fact, he did eat roti in his hand when Gandhi was visiting the Wardha ashram and invited, and Gadge Maharaj was actually in the ashram. I don't know who had invited him there, but Gandhi had observed him during an earlier Congress meet sweeping and was very touched by him. And he told him, come sit next to me and let's eat together. He said no. And he sat in front of him on the floor and had a bhakri and an onion in his hand and ate. And like, the point I'm trying to make here is the level of, walking the talk that he did was really astounding. And with no formal education, there's a university named after him today. There are 100 institutions that he set up, and out of that there were at least 31, some people say 42 educational institutions out of those. There are so many PhDs done on him, and he has written nothing. There's no written word, there's no shishya of his, so to speak. He said he had no guru as well. The light was within, I used to love this one saying that Tukaram would say about, I went to look for God and I looked here and there, but I found that God within. And he really embodied that, but also, like you said, Hindoli saw that divinity in everyone. So those 10 commandments are so diverse, from widows to leprosy patients to people who are struggling to get married to education, animals. He was an institution, a true Mahatyagi, a true Karma Yogi, while holding on to also the most often repeated Gopala, Devaki Nandan Gopala, believing in this bhajan sampradaya or tradition.
But see how beautiful it is, right? I mean, when here's this saint singing Gopala, Gopala, who's he singing to? To Krishna, right? And yet is also saying God is in everything. It's in the wind around you. Look, here's the thing, that in his spiritual mind, in his evolved consciousness, there is no conflict. There is only a conversation. Whereas all this, the conflict, as it were, or clashes, is only built by lower order human beings, so to speak. That flawed human beings in their own ego build all this sort of, collision courses. But true saints, with their evolved understanding of humanity, of themselves, and of the world, find no conflict. And you were saying, yes, the University of Amravati, I believe, is named after Gadge Maharaj. And what an incredible thing that a man who never deigned to, in a sense, or didn't write anything down or give any sort of formal sermons, today has God knows how many people learning and listening to his wisdom, his understanding. It's just incredible. I mean, the more you dig deeper into the spiritual tradition of India, the more you realize this is actually the very core of India. This is what keeps India going. This is what keeps India, in a sense, alive.
That's right, Hindol. And I think in closing, we just want to emphasize that, there is no big, small, rich, poor. This is the domain of only the privileged or the educated. No, nothing like that. He would ask people, who are you? So, a lot of his followers would say, oh, I'm this, I'm a Mahar, I'm a Chamar. They would name their professions. He'd be like, do you have 2 eyes? Do you have 2 feet? Do you have 2 legs? Or, do you have 1 nose? That's interesting. If God really wanted to differentiate you, would He have not given you a different number of eyes, different number of noses, ears? He's made us all the same. We are creating this difference in our minds. So in society today, we may not have so much of oppression, so to speak. For a lot of people, yes, there still is. But definitely it's more equal than before in the rights of, let's say, access to technology or education and so on. But we have to look back and see that, we're sitting on this legacy, and acknowledge that legacy and also see what we can apply from it. So if at any point we feel like we're not worth it or, we're not capable enough or some such sort of negative self-talk, here is someone saying that, just look within. You're absolutely that.
It's an incredible story. The man of the great Saint Gadge Maharaj, whom Babasaheb Ambedkar said about him that he's the greatest, along with Jyotiba Phule, he's the greatest servant of the people. What an incredible man. What an incredible story. It is really a shame that one doesn't hear more about him and his association with Babasaheb Ambedkar whenever Ambedkar is discussed. But that's the reason why this conversation between me and Neha exists. We want to hold up before you all the things that we learn, all the things that excites us, all the things that brings us wisdom through this sacred podcast, through this sacred conversation. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Namaste.